Well, good morning. God, we had a lot going on here yesterday, but one of the wonderful things that took place is many of you and a bunch of our teenagers went and distributed 230 blankets to the homeless that we collected. So I know in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't feel like we've ended the problem of homelessness. But, you know, the weather has turned and it's cold. And wouldn't it be nice if we were on the street that somebody would bring us a nice clean blanket? And so, and the thing I loved is that when I asked Annabeth if our teenagers would be involved, she's the director of our teenagers, she was like, yeah, absolutely. And so it was just great to be here because we were also having a memorial service, and I went over to where they were loading up the cars. And it was just beautiful because, you know, kids are great. You know, they're going to deliver blankets to the homeless, and you would have thought they were going to like the greatest concert ever. They were so excited, and they were so up, and they were so positive about the whole thing, you know, and I was just so proud of all of them, and I'm so grateful to all of you for just getting on board with every good, wacky idea that we have. So today I'm going to finish up talking about Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements. And this wisdom that he shares in The Four Agreements is thousands of years old. It's a Toltec wisdom from southern Mexico. And so the premise is that everything in existence is a manifestation of one living being that we call God. That everything is God. Sounds just like science of mind, doesn't it? That everything is God. And so even this drink is God. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that enormously. And the real us, not this outer us, not the personality us or the physical shell of us, but the real us is pure love and pure light. And people in our lives, everybody is a mirror. Yeah. Isn't that fun? I love that part, that everybody's a mirror. You say, well, I don't know, I have people in my life and they're not a mirror of me. But you know, what we teach in the science of mind is that they are a mirror of some belief you have. Some belief, somewhere in there. And that's why they show up to say, hey, you're still believing this, aren't you? Hey, I'm here to show you what you're thinking deep down. You know that thing you suppressed years ago that's still rattling around down there and you got all these strategies on how to keep it staying down? I'm here to remind you it's still there. People are our mirrors. I love and hate that personally. I really do. I love it and I hate it. I love it because it shows me where I have work to do spiritually. I hate it because there's always more work to do, isn't there? So, you know, we make lots of agreements in life. Some of these agreements are conscious agreements, and some of these agreements are made more unconsciously. And the most important agreements are the agreements we make with ourselves, because our agreements actually rule and shape our life. So the four agreements help us break free. Now, these four agreements that Don Miguel Ruiz is talking about, these four agreements help us break free from those lesser agreements that we have made along the way from a place of fear, those agreements that deplete our energy and suck the life and joy out of us. So the promise is that if we begin to live our life with these four agreements to the best of our ability, the transformation in our lives will be amazing. I don't know about you, but I'm always open for a little transformation, huh? Seems like a good thing. So the first one, and I love this, because this just feels so much like science of mind to me, is be impeccable with your word. Because your word is your power to create. That's what God has given you. Your word shapes and forms and unfolds and refolds and reimagines and recreates your life. Your word is a power. It's a force. You know, it's the most powerful tool that God has given us to evolve and heal and grow our lives. Every time we speak our word, we are planting some seeds. And so this idea about being impeccable with our word is about the right use of our energy in life. That we all understand, you know, that heaven and hell, Ernest Holmes teaches us in the science of mind, are states of consciousness. And I don't know about you, but I'm all in favor of experiencing a lot more heaven and a lot less hell. I don't know. Do you need more hell? You know? And so heaven and hell, we create that by the use of our word. You know, you can misuse your word and you can create hell like that, can't you? Just think about it. You're with someone close to you, maybe someone you even love, and the thought occurs to you, don't say it. Don't say it. And you think, nope, I've got to say it. And you go from having a perfectly nice time to saying it in instantaneous, here's hell, here we are. Oh, why did I say it? But I did. Or we can create heaven. You know, we can build people up or we can tear them down. We can build ourselves up or we can tear ourselves down, all with the power of our word. Now, only the truth will set us free from old false agreements. This is why it's so important to speak the spiritual truth about yourself and speak the spiritual truth about other people. When we see other people, when we think of other people, to say a spiritual truth about them. He points out also that gossiping is poison. It is not going to do you any good because ultimately, words never leave their source. You know, so what you say about somebody else, you're going to feel that back at you. And when you're impeccable with your word, you're going to feel happy, you're going to feel good, you're going to be at peace. So that's the first agreement, is to be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. This is tough, isn't it? Don't take anything personally. Because if you take something personally, Don Miguel Ruiz is teaching us that it's because on some level you actually agree with it. If you didn't agree with it, there's no way you would take it personally. You'd say, that has nothing to do with me. I don't know what you're talking about. I wish you well, but that is not about me. That is something that you have dreamed up. See, because nothing other people do is because of you. It's because of them. Nothing other people do is because of you. It's because of them. So when you know who you are, you know, what other people think of you is not important. You say, well, oh my, this is tough for those of us who have lived our lives trying to please others. You know, people pleasers in the room. You know, if I could just get them to approve of me, just forget it. Let it go, he's saying. You know, that when you know who you are, what do you mean, who I am? What do you mean when I know who I am? You are a unique expression of the living Spirit Almighty. You are a child of God. You are love itself, here to give of yourself into the world in your own unique and perfect way. That's it. Okay? And everything else is condiments. Okay? So people see the world differently. Isn't that amazing that people just see the world differently? You know, and if you take it personally, what you're going to do is you're going to suffer a lot more. Now, I don't know about you, but I really feel like I've kind of done the suffering course. Haven't you feel like you've already gotten a PhD in that? I mean, do you ever get up in the morning and say, boy, I don't have a lot on my plate today. Maybe I could suffer a lot. You know, hey, universe, bring on the suffering here. That's what I'd really like, because I've just been having too much fun. It would be, you know, like, let's take it all way down and let's have some serious. No, nobody ever says that. So it's easier to not take it personally if you have an inner life. If you pray, if you meditate, if you study spiritual truth, if you remind yourself again and again that you are connected to something greater. Also, that everybody is doing the best they can with what they have at any given moment. And I admit that changes day to day. That changes from hour to hour. You know, but people are doing the best they can. See, I really believe that people are basically good. People are basically good. You know, and those people that we think of as being so dastardly and horrible in the world, do you think really that as a child that they were cherished and loved and like held enough and sung to enough and kissed enough and told how marvelous they were enough? I mean, probably not. Probably not. And so, you know, I know when I have not been at my best, it's just because something was going on in me. And so if that's true about me, if it's true about you, it's probably true about other people as well. Everybody's doing the best that they can. The third agreement, I love this because, of course, it came up again and again and again since we were last together, is to don't make assumptions. Oh, boy. We all make them, right, and believe that they are true. I mean, I wouldn't make an assumption if I didn't think it was actually true, would you? Of course, I mean, I make an assumption and I believe it's true, and then I act like it's true. To make assumptions, we're looking for trouble. So what's the solution? Ask for clarification. Well, I don't want to look like an idiot. Look what an idiot you're going to look like if you make an assumption and it's wrong. Okay? I mean, just ask for clarification. Ask for what you want. Take responsibility for your communication. You know, we do not teach mind reading, right? So don't expect other people should know. We're big now, so you get to ask for what you want. And if people say no, I don't ever think no is no. I think no means the negotiations are now open, is what I think, you know? So when you say to somebody, would you do this, please? And they say no, and say, okay, negotiations open. Would you do this? No. Would you be willing to do this? And then all of a sudden, things that seem far off start getting closer and closer and closer. So number 4, and I love this, is to always do your best. I think about every program that I ever participated in from the time I was in Cub Scouts and then all through Boy Scouts and Little League and all of those things, and we were always told to go out and do your best. And if you did your best, you would feel good about yourself. And this is exactly what Don Miguel Ruiz is talking about in the 4th agreement. That if you just endeavor to do your best, you know, it was just over a year ago that one of the dearest friends of our church community, and he'd been the president of our board here at the church, Jan Eddy, made his transition just over a year ago. And Jan, to me, was the greatest example of somebody who every day endeavored to always do his best. With whatever he was doing, however he was being of service in the world, he just always did his best, I felt. And so I think, you know, that was just a great model. He was just a great model, as were all of those Scoutmasters and Little League coaches and all of those people along the way. No more, no less, always do your best. See, because if you take it through the lens of science of mind, it is good consciousness to always give your best to whatever you're doing, because that's what you're telling the universe you're about. You know, so many people would like their life to be better, but they're not giving their best to what's in front of them right now. You know, it's a message out into the universal mind. And now I admit also that our best is also always changing, isn't it? Our best is always changing. Some days you don't feel so good, so your best is not so great. But it's your best on that day. And then other days you feel fantastic. You've had a wonderful night's sleep. You know, you're really looking forward to something, and your best is amazing, right? So if you do less than your best, what we're doing in those situations is we're going to subject ourselves to lots of frustration, self-judgment, because we know we could have shown up a little bit better, guilt, and regrets. And I don't know about you, but I just hate regret. Boy, regret is one of those things that'll keep you so ensconced in the past and keeping you from living your life right now. If you always do your best, there's no way you can judge yourself harshly. Really, you know, and so with no judgment, there's no way you can, you know, suffer that guilt and blame and self-punishment that some people seem to struggle with all the time. You know, we've heard people say, no matter what I do, it's not enough. And it's like, oh my God, here, read this book. Okay, please, read this book now. Read this book, and, you know. Doing your best is taking action. Because you love it. You know? Not because you're expecting a reward. And you know, what it seems to me is that the science of mind teaches us that what we put out is what we get back. And so if we put out the best that is within us, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, it's the most natural thing that God and the universe gives us back the best, whatever that is. Right? Because that's how life works. When we teach our abundance workshop here, which I usually teach every summer, one of the things that I try to encourage people to say is to themselves is, I am worth the best there is. Now that will sound very arrogant to some people, but the truth is you are, because there's nobody better than you, and there's nobody worse. Right? That's the other side of that coin. You know that you are worth the very best there is. And when you know that, the natural consequence of that is doing your best, because you know that's what the universe is going to give back to you. Ernest Holmes talks about treating and moving your feet. That you treat and you move your feet. You pray and you take action. And you pray and take action. And you know, spiritual people are famous for wanting to just do the prayer part, but not take any action. Oh, I'm just going to pray, and the Lord will provide. Well, you're going to be waiting a long time, I am here to tell you, you know, because you've got to pray, and then you've got to get up out of your prayer chair and move your little feet in the direction of your dream. You know, that we have to take action. You know, so doing your best is taking the action because you love it. Because you love it, not because you're expecting some kind of reward. You know, a lot of people are after the reward, and I think they miss it. I think they miss it. If you do your best, you will not have any regrets. You know, because doing your best is always setting you free. You know, doing your best, you accept yourself because you like who you are. So, you know, I did my best here. I just did my best. You enjoy whatever you're doing because you're doing your best, right? And so and you do your best because you want to do it, not because you have to. I think about this with little things that are not always the most pleasant thing. So I have 2 dogs, and of course, you know what comes with dogs is scooping up a lot, right? You know, I keep feeding them, I keep scooping. I keep feeding them, I keep scooping, you know? And you know, it's, I think that it's a small price. What I've had to do is, rather than say, oh my God, I've got to go do that now, is sort of have a little shift in my mind to, you know what? They bring so much love into my life. They add so much to my existence. They are such a source of delight and joy that that there's no, I have no issue in doing what I need to do to pick up after them. It's just part of what I do, and I try to do it really well. You know, so not just in my own backyard, but when we walk around the neighborhood. And I have to remind myself, just to go backwards a little bit here, when I see that other people have not done that, I have to remind myself that the people are doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can with the awareness, with the consciousness they have. Yeah, that's it, okay. But you know, I do it because I want to do it, not because I have to. I could get away with skulking through the neighborhood with the dogs at night in the dark, and nobody would know what I leave behind, but I would. You know, I would, and I wouldn't like that person. All right? So we all have great ideas, you know. I think every person in this room has phenomenal ideas. If we just took time to have a cup of coffee together and just share our ideas about things, we would all be amazed. But what makes the difference is action. If there's no action, there's no manifestation, there's no result. So Don Miguel Ruiz says the best way to express the love of God is to live your life doing your best. I think that's just a magnificent idea. That's how you show your love of God, is by doing your best at whatever you're doing. Now, I don't know about you, I suspect we all had the same parents, and so something that my parents used to say, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing right. Yep. You know, if you're something, see, we all have the same parents. Isn't that amazing? I just love that. So, you know, the best way to say thank you, God, he says, is by letting go of the past and living the present moment. All of a sudden, doing your best sounds a lot easier, doesn't it? You know, that the best way to say thank you, God, is by letting go of the past and living in the present moment. Because people living in the past if they're living in the past, you miss what the present moment is offering you. And you won't get this moment again. Because a second from now, this moment is gone. You know? And this is why, and the thing I think about with this so much is this is why it's so important how we are with people when we're with them. Because you never know. They could be hit by the donut truck. You know, I mean, it happens. It happens. They could just step off the curve and the donut truck comes around the corner on 2 wheels and boom, they're gone. Right? And you're thinking, what donut truck? Is there a donut truck and I have missed the donut truck? Is that donut truck coming to church today? Will there be jelly-filled donuts? Okay, okay, I digress. But so the first three agreements only work if you do your best. By doing your best, the habits of misusing your words, of not being impeccable, of taking things personally and making assumptions, if you're doing your best, all of those things become weaker and less frequent within you. And if you're doing your best, you're just going to feel good about yourself. And I remember reading years ago something by wonderful, wonderful Louise Hay. And she said that true prosperity begins with feeling good about yourself. That if you don't feel good about you, no amount of money is going to change that, right? Or no amount of friends or creative opportunities, no amount of something outside of you is going to make you feel better about you if you don't feel good about you to begin with, all right? So if you're doing your best, you will feel good about yourself. It seems to me that that's the on-ramp to the road to prosperous living, whatever that is for you. So it's practice that always makes someone a master, right? Doing your best, you become the master. And doing your best over and over and over again, you become more and more masterful. That everything you do, everything that we have learned, we have actually learned through repetition. I was talking with someone outside, a couple of days ago, and there was this little grassy area, and they had a toddler. And the toddler was just, holding on to a finger of the parent, and then the toddler, he'd pull his hand away, and he'd start walking up this little grassy berm. It was just really sweet. And he would fall over immediately, and then stand up and just laugh like crazy, And he'd take a couple more steps in that way where, they're kind of like rubber, and he'd fall forward, and he'd pick himself up, and he'd laugh again. Like this was the most natural thing, and it was just such a delight to watch this, that he was doing his best, and nobody was saying, don't fall like that. Oh, and don't enjoy yourself until you're perfect, it was all just fine, like the whole process, so practicing is what makes us a master, and we've learned what we've learned because we've practiced and practiced, we've repeated. So Don Miguel Ruiz's promise, or the promise of the Toltec wisdom, is that if you work with these 4 agreements, there will be no more hell for you. Isn't that an amazing? I think that is just thrilling. That if we work with these 4 agreements, if we honor these agreements, there will be no more hell for us. And so, yes, the path is full of obstacles. That's the path, certainly. So this is why you have to have a strong will and say, today I will not make assumptions. Today I will do my best. Today I will, so when you fall down, you get to start again. Like that little guy, you just get to pick yourself up and start again and make a new agreement and say, okay, starting right now, I will be impeccable with my word. Starting right now, I will show up as my best. Let's pray. So we turn our attention inward, just grateful to be together in mind and heart and consciousness, recognizing that we are surrounded by God's living Spirit. It is the presence of truth, the light of love within each and every one of us. And so as we come together in consciousness, I speak the word for us that our hearts and minds are open, and there is a greater expression of God by means of us than we have ever known thus far. That we say yes to the divine impulse in a way that enriches and expands and deepens us. And I claim for each and every one of us that we let go of what does not serve us any longer, whether it's a thought, an idea, a belief, a habit pattern. If it doesn't serve us, we just let it go so we can be fully in this present moment and receive the gift that God is giving us right here, right now. We have the eyes to see it and the arms to embrace it. And so I declare for each and every one of us that we are exceedingly blessed as we move into this wonderful season of light. And I further declare that we have the ability to see how blessed we are. We include in our prayer today our family members and friends, our loved ones, and we know that right where they are, God is present in its fullness, that they are surrounded by love, sustained by it, lifted up. We let our prayer be a blessing in the world, so that all that looks like chaos or makes us fearful or doubting, we say the God that we believe in is bigger than all of that, and I know God is everywhere equally present, even in the midst of that. We bless our church, we bless all churches everywhere, synagogues and temples and mosques and ashrams, all paths to God. And I know that we are blessed by being together, that we all get raised up in consciousness, that today we lay down something that doesn't serve us anymore, and we embrace a greater spiritual truth that makes us more free. And so with a full heart, I give thanks that this is so. I release this word. I know it's done, and so it is. Together we all say, Amen.